Let's learn something really quick.
If you got the time, absolutely. And you got the discipline, there's no question about it.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great practice to put into your everyday life, you guys.
You generally regret the things you don't do, not the things you did do. Let me say it that way.
Mic drop. This was just awesome. I love meeting my guests in person, and it's a whole nother animal, and the energy is just electric. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. As always, bring you incredible guests from all over the world, so sit back, relax, and tune in. My next guest is a passionate entrepreneur, multi-unit franchisee of Prenevost, a franchisee search coach, an author. He is also a keynote speaker, a yoga teacher, and something that we have in common, a martial artist. Please welcome Gary Prenevost.
It's a pleasure to be here, Deanna. Looking very forward to the discussion.
Me too. First of all, did I say the last name right? I should have asked him before we got started.
You did. Yes, you did.
Oh wow, I'm impressed with myself. Well, we've had such a great conversation already, and I don't even know where to start. So I love the idea of having a multi-unit franchisee or being one of those, because I think that gives someone a lot of freedom in their life, right? And just kind of having that entrepreneurial spirit. Can you kind of share with us a little bit of your journey of becoming a franchisee, coach, owner, all these great things?
Sure. It's a very eclectic background. I've done a lot of different things. Early in my career, I was a banker, and I realized being in a big corporation, but after 7 years, I was the contortionist in the invisible box. Get all the things about, you got to wait for decisions, all these rules and structure. And I became an entrepreneur. Was family business for several years. And the challenge with family business is too many bosses and not enough workers. Yeah. And the family dynamics would change. The way the business should be run. And I decided that it wasn't going to get me where I wanted to go. And it was, so one of my customers was the franchise.
Okay.
And I guess I did a good job. They recruited me away from the family business to help them sell franchise. And that was, I think, 1991, my introduction to franchising, sales, management, leadership training. And I went from working probably 70, 80 hours, typical entrepreneur, all kinds of hours, to working 30 hours a week and crushing my numbers. And so after 7 months, I went to the owner and said, "What else do you got for me?" He says, "Nothing, buy yourself a franchise." So I did. And so that's how I got into the franchise arena, with sales, management, leadership training. I was a business coach for 10 years. Along the way, my partner and I had another family business. So the founder passed away, and we took over the whole company. Okay. And that got me into the franchisor side and into the franchise community. So working with other franchisors, volunteering, and all the different elements. And Prenevost happened to be one of our lead sources. And the gentleman from Prenevost kept on saying, "You'd be really good at this." And he kept on trying to recruit me away. Well, after about 10 years, 2002, it was time for me to leave. Just the business decisions that were being made were just the harmony was gone. Yeah. And so I bought Prenevost, and I've had that ever since. Started off as a small territory, and then bought a couple. I was outside of Toronto, then I bought all of Toronto. Then I bought part of Canada, and just impressively grew along the way.
Wow. So how different was it for you to go from banking to family business and a franchisee owner? Because I feel like the two don't mix. Usually bankers are very different than an entrepreneur.
Well, I say ex-bankers being the best part. Banking was a fantastic learning ground. I had some great leaders. I had a couple leaders who what not to do, and that was some important lessons. But it was going from a very structured, what I considered golden handcuffs kind of culture, to I get to have a lot of say in execution of what happens. And the time from decision to action was way faster, but it was still not fast enough, which is why I made a couple of changes that I made.
Yeah, for sure. What are some common misconceptions people have of franchise owners?
Well, I think one of the biggest misconceptions, Deanna, is it's all food and retail. There's in the U.S., there's, depending on which survey you read, 3,400 to 4,000 franchises. Canada, just over 1,000. food and retail is only about 35 to 40%. There's 80 different industries. There's so many different things. And it's not buying yourself a long hours, low paying job. We have many clients who they keep their corporate job and they build multi-unit strategy on the side. So long-term wealth creation. We have other clients. I've done enough with corporate. I really want to drive and grow and scale something, but they don't want to be a counter or cash register business. So there's all kinds of different options. I think that's one of the big misconceptions. Another one is that the brand will bring me customers. I'll buy a franchise and I'll automatically be successful.
Right.
Brand is important only when the owner can deliver on the expectations of the consumer at or above brand level.
Yeah.
So that's about running the business. And I think a lot of the work that people need to do when they're looking at business ownership is, what do they bring to the table? What are their skills, their capabilities? Where are their passions for the type of work? Where are their gaps? What does the business need? And where you, in an ideal situation, the core drivers of the business are the core skills that the person has. That's what I help people find, that bridge.
Yeah. And what is the percentage of success versus failure with a franchise?
In the US, 90% of franchisees succeed. It's way over half of non-franchise businesses fail after 5 years. So disproportionate. And it's because the systems, processes, support, I think, and I talk about it in my book, with the interdependence of everybody coming together and sharing ideas and best practices, that's how the brand and the systems are continually evolving.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, we know of some, let's talk about like some really well-known franchise brands like Chick-fil-A. And is Tim Hortons out in Canada, is that a franchise too?
Yep. That's one of our iconic brands.
Yes, Tim Hortons is awesome. Like whenever I was in Canada with my late husband, we had to hit one up. But like those are the two that I know from, one in the US, Chick-fil-A, and Tim Hortons, that are just iconically successful.
Very much so. However, what people don't realize is there's as many struggling franchisees in a big brand as there is on a smaller brand. It's just the franchisor, in the case of a big brand that doesn't succeed, the customer doesn't see it because the franchisor is going to take it back. They're going to bring in the operations team to turn around. They're going to find another franchisee to execute it well.
Oh, wow.
So, those are worst case scenarios and they don't happen very often, but it's the strength of the operational systems that the customer has that relationship with.
Yeah, for sure. So you can actually get kicked out of your franchise if you're not doing it right.
In the worst case scenario, yes. And most good franchises, I'll say it this way: franchising growth wouldn't be where it is if there was a takeover culture or take back culture. Being a franchise, it's a license, and there's always rules that have to be followed, and that's part of the integrity of the systems and processes. So when somebody is not executing on those processes, they're actually hurting the brand. The franchisor and the team will step in. Hey, here's how we can help.
Yeah.
But occasionally, even that doesn't work.
So I got remarried, and my current husband was really interested in starting a Chick-fil-A, and he wanted me to submit the application. And they have a very rigorous, training process where you have to be there and be in the business as a franchisee owner for, I think it's a whole year, to learn all the processes, from cooking, managing, hiring, everything that goes into it. And I was like, well, that sounds great and everything, but I don't know if I really want to be around cooking 12 hours a day, or whatever it is. I don't know if I want to be in a fast food environment for so many hours a day. I love the idea of the profit that comes with it, because most Chick-fil-A's are extremely profitable. But that sounded like a very big commitment for me.
Well, profit is a byproduct of how well run a business is.
Yeah.
And there are 12 to 14 criteria that I help clients think through before they start looking at businesses. Most people, if they don't have guidance, are only thinking of 3 or 4. What type of income do I need? What type of hours do I want to work? Well, what type of customers do you want? What type of staff do you want? There's layers and layers, right?
Yeah.
And what does it take to lead those people? So there's a lot of different elements. When people are looking at what the right franchise is, they should park the brand element and focus on the role element. What is the role of the owner? What does it take to run the business? And what do I, as an owner, potential owner, bring to the table? Every business owner has three primary resources that have to be brought to bear. How much time, and what is the structure of that weekly time? How much money, what is the capital that's required? And what are the skills, the transferable skills that drive the business that they bring to the table? And when they're looking at skills, what are those things I love to do and I'm good at? What are the things I'm not good at but want to get good at? What are the things I dislike doing? Because you don't want a business where the core driver are things that you don't like doing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I told him, I said, why don't we try to do like one of those cryotherapy med spas? Like, that'd be more of my alley. I love the idea of a franchise. I think that for someone that's interested in becoming an entrepreneur that does not have any experience as an entrepreneur, it's a great roadmap and a great program to set them up for success if they follow the correct format that is presented to them by the franchise.
I would agree for people who have never been in business all before, franchising is one of the safest and most strategically strong paths, because you learn a lot about yourself, you learn a lot about the business, and you have support. Now, in a good franchise, not all franchises are created equal. So good franchises, there's strong leadership, there's strong operations, there's enough franchisees and you'll learn from each other, and they're bubbling up and sharing, constantly learning from each other. So those different elements create that, what I call a time compression strategy. When somebody starts a business from scratch, they have to figure out everything, and it's long trial and error. With a franchise, it compresses the time from purchase to open. So there's a lot less things that somebody's doing, and compress the time from open to break even, because you're only focusing on the critical things and not getting distracted. And then once they've got to break even, now it compresses the next day, which is break even to full stride. Once somebody hits full stride, now it's a growth acceleration strategy, Deanna, because now all the things that they weren't ready for are at their disposal. What are the strong franchises doing to grow? And all these different things that helps people grow faster. You see where multi-unit franchising comes from.
Yeah, no, I love that. Well, let's kind of switch gears and talk about the unstoppable franchisee. Like, I love this book. I started reading it. Thank you very much. And I loved what it says, the 7 drivers of next level growth. And we discussed this before we started recording, and how this is really applicable to any person in business. Let's just say the 7 key growth drivers are: grow a next level mindset. Mindset, everyone, all starts here. Grow your awareness, grow your operational management skills. That's one of my biggest strengths. Grow your people, master the system, grow your interdependence, and cultivate the neural network of your business. So let's talk about, what was your motivation and inspiration behind this book?
Well, I've been a top performing franchisee for most of my career. Once I achieve something, okay, what's next? I rest, I celebrate, reflect on what's next. And as we have our clients talk to existing franchisees to understand what the business is, one of the constant things was some franchisees do way better with the systems than others. We saw it in my own franchise system. And around 2018, 2019, I just started, this question kept on percolating in the back of my mind. Why don't the franchises just do blank? It's so easy. It's so straightforward. And I thought, Jesus, is this an industry problem? And how come nobody's gone after it?
Yeah.
And the former training person in me said, okay, here's an opportunity. So I went searching for that why. Didn't know if I had a book in me or not. I wanted to answer the question, why don't people do more? I interviewed over 30 CEOs, some of the biggest franchisor CEOs on the planet, and some fast-growing franchisees. Focus, what is the top 1% to 4% franchise? Your very best. What are their traits and characteristics? What do they do and what do they not do?
Yeah.
Then the cool part, Deanna, was I went and I talked to the top franchisees of those organizations, and the 7 drivers are the intersections of both perspectives. Wow. That came out last year at USA Today, picked as one of the top 10 business books for 2024. Which is very exciting. And it helps people understand what that next level growth is about. The mindset is so important. Like you talk a lot about mindset in different episodes. A lot of your guests, it's a cornerstone of success. Yeah. Well, I think about the next level mindset is we grow, we expect, there's an optimism element, but it's also, once I got to something, what else is out there? And the awareness piece, to me, those are the 2 most important chapters. The awareness and mindset. Mindset was keep you prepared for it. Awareness what's happening, what do I need to work on. There's a lot of exercise in the book to help people with that, so they can prioritize what their most important things to focus on, be it an obstacle that has to be overcome or an opportunity to be realized.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the drivers, it's whichever the priority is, they can go to the different chapters and do the exercise and work on it that way. So that was the way it was designed.
I love it. And it's not just for franchisees. It's really applicable for anyone in business, right?
Well, yeah, it very much so. Franchising, we talked earlier on about the success rates of franchising compared to non-franchising. Franchisors don't create new industries. Franchisors wait till there's enough entrepreneurs who have done all the experimenting and the bleeding edge to the leading edge. They wait for the market demand to be proven. When they come in with systems, processes, support, and outperform their less sophisticated competitors. So when I look at the book, the secrets of how franchisors work are applicable and are now accessible to non-franchise entrepreneurs.
I love it. I love it. And it's a very easy read, you guys. So if you're an entrepreneur interested in becoming a franchisee owner or anything, it's a very easy read. Highly recommend. I'm really enjoying it so far. And I'm just, taking it all in and taking some notes myself. Let's switch gears again. Now, you are a yoga teacher and a martial artist. So the martial artists, we have that in common.
I love martial arts. It's so centering. The disciplines that you learn, apply, and everything. My sensei said, maintain your center line, vertically, horizontally, from a weight balance, but emotionally, spiritually. I've stopped doing martial arts because of a severe knee injury, but I still practice some of the mentalities of it. The yoga, we did the yoga 200-hour teacher training. Lindsay started doing the yoga. She did a hospice and other work. So we wanted to do it with seniors. And so we pick and choose when we do it. I'm not associated with any club.
Yeah.
It takes too much time to be instructing all the time, but I love the personal harmony and peace that comes with the yoga practice.
Well, that's kind of very similar with the martial arts though, too. So when I first got into martial arts at 18, I was, I come from a broken home. I've got a lot of trauma in my past. And when I first started, I thought I was such a badass, right? And so I would go out and I had such an ego, right? Because I know all these skills and I'm up against these big guys in my class. But then as I got more and more skilled, I got less and less ego and I became more and more centered. There's tremendous growth that comes within martial arts. I love the art of it, not just the physical component, but you also just learn to really go on a spiritual journey hopefully a spiritual journey of growth and knowing that you can rise above some of those sticky situations and not lead with your ego, which yoga is, like you said, very much in harmony with yourself and peace. And they have some synergies there. I do yoga a lot. So I love that component where it just brings me peace and it's a practice to keep me, I'm sure like yourself, keep me centered.
I can't agree more at where my brain goes is why don't more people advance to the more senior belts, or why don't they get deeper into their yoga practice? Something I've heard you say a few times on your podcast, Deanna, is people fall in love with comfort zone.
Yes.
And what is a comfort zone? To me, a comfort zone it's a necessary and natural part of living. It's a place where we learn, we grow, we work like crazy to get good at something. And then we plateau. And as we plateau, I want it to be ease off and I want to get in that comfort zone. And that's, every day, what do? We wake up, we eat, we work, we rest, and we go to sleep and we refresh. So the comfort zone is a place of refreshing and reflecting. What strong performers do is they don't stay there too long. Okay, what have I learned? What do I want to do next? And what do I need to do what I want next? And they start a new learning cycle. People who stay in the comfort zone too long, it becomes a place of stagnation and it can actually become toxic and you start working against yourself. So I look at it as when I get onto a new growth cycle, and I talk about this in my book, I talk about it in my keynotes, is at the start of every growth cycle is the valley of sacrifice. Yeah. You have to go from being really good at something to being not good, check your ego at the door. Yeah. You have to give up time because it can take time to learn something new. You have to give up money and you have to be patient as you go through that valley of sacrifice, and then you start learning. So you go from beginner to learner, and learner to competent. Competent is like, I'm okay at doing it.
Yeah.
Then as you start growing, you go from competent to proficient. And this is where most people are, whether it's in business or in their personal practices of yoga or martial arts or whatever their hobbies are. When they get to the comfort zone, they're somewhere between proficient, the competent proficient, and then they stagnate. Yeah. Top performers go next level up, and they go from proficiency to mastery. And it takes a catalyst of some sort to get them out of that. For me, one of my businesses, we bought a master franchise. We ran it for 4 years, and lost over $1 million. And I came, it was one of the winters of my life where it was like I was angry at the world. I was mad at myself. And then I stopped getting angry because I realized I put myself there. Yeah. I was doing this while I was doing FranNet. So I came back to FranNet, and I got a lot of recovery to do. So instead of going, squirrel, what's next?
Yeah, right.
It was easy. I said, I have to double down and get brilliant at this business. And it just literally tripled the volume of my business in 3 years.
Yeah. That's an amazing story. And I love that you didn't get comfortable and you got distracted and moved into a different direction. You learned how to master that franchise and grow. Gary, where can people find you, connect with you, purchase your book? And if they're interested in maybe learning a little bit more about franchising, how do they get in touch with you?
I'm very active on LinkedIn, the GaryPrenevost.com, just GaryPrenevost.com. Do a Google search on me. I'm one of the top franchise coaches in North America for people who want to buy a franchise. Keynoting, I like to have discussions. What is the pain point? What is the goal? And am I the right person for your journey, whether it's a franchisor, as a keynote, or an individual wanting to buy a business?
Sure. And the book, where can they purchase the book?
Any of the bookseller, but Amazon probably best. Thank you. Sometimes Amazon has discounts, like they'll change the price. I don't know how they do their thing, but they just move a lot of products, and I think it's a great platform.
Yeah, I hear that. I have a lot of authors on the show, and I hear that about with their books, they go on sale and stuff, which is very cool. Gives people an opportunity to get their book into more hands, right? Gary, this is the part of the show where I like to ask for last words of wisdom or advice. What would you like to leave with us today?
I think next level growth is possible and likely for any business owner, any individual. It takes the right amount of mindset, awareness, and the awareness leads to the prioritization of focused action, but then they got to act.
Yeah.
And I think it can be summed up in these 10 words. Own it, learn from it, do better where you can.
Yes.
And that applies equally to positive experiences and negative experiences.
Completely agree. I love it. Boom. On that note, Gary, thank you for sharing your story, what you do, a little bit like information around franchising, being a keynote, and some of the takeaways with being a yoga teacher and a martial artist, I think are actually great about the mindset, right? And how people get there. And don't fall in love with being comfortable. Step out of that comfort zone. So thank you so much. Excited to see the next level of growth for you with your book and where you're going with your brand. So thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. As always, don't forget to subscribe, follow, rate, review, comment, share, all those good things. And I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.